It was one of those breezy Saturday evenings where the air carried the scent of cut grass and grilled hot dogs, the type that made neighborhoods feel like sanctuaries. At Crestwood Park, nestled along the edge of Fairview, Georgia, families dotted the open fields with picnic blankets and coolers. Children squealed over soccer goals, and teens lounged on benches, heads bowed toward glowing phone screens. The gentle rustle of leaves above made the day feel almost scripted in its peace. Seated beneath the broad arms of a tall oak tree, 16-year-old Isaiah Ford held still. His legs crossed neatly. He sat in a black tailored suit that caught the amber hues of the setting sun. A crisp white shirt peeked from beneath his lapels, and polished dress shoes gleamed dully from the grass. No event had summoned the attire. Isaiah simply wore it, because it made him feel composed, focused, whole. In his hands was a worn paperback of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, the margins cluttered with tiny notes. His gaze, however, was not on the pages. It lingered toward the field, where his younger brother Julian finished up soccer practice. He had promised their mother he would walk Julian home. Simple enough. A small favor, really. Yet Isaiah had always found honor in promises. The steady murmur of the park changed subtly when a black SUV pulled into the gravel parking lot on the far end. The hum of the engine was low, but it persisted. Most patrol vehicles passed through with little notice, keeping their distance unless called. But this one didn't move on. It rolled to a deliberate stop and idled like a hell breath. Then the doors opened, and 3 uniformed men stepped out. Isaiah's posture straightened, not from fear, but from recognition. Their body language was wrong, not the casual pace of local officers doing rounds. There was a stiffness in their arms, a calculated precision in the way they scanned the area. Noticed, categorized, dismissed until their gaze landed on him. All 3 fixated on Isaiah at once. He marked the moment in his mind. Years of martial arts had sharpened his instincts to a fine edge, and those instincts whispered a warning now. Still, he turned a page in his book with measured calm, pretending not to notice the synchronized approach of 3 men who, though in uniform, bore no visible name tags, no body cams. Just blue and suspicion. The tallest officer, stocky and squared, led the group. A younger man trailed slightly behind him, alongside a grizzled veteran who looked like he'd seen too many long nights and liked none of them. Isaiah didn't move until their shadows fell across his shoes. Then, slowly, he raised his eyes. "What are you doing here, kid?" the leader asked. It wasn't a question. Not really. Isaiah met the man's gaze evenly. "Waiting for my brother," he replied. His voice held no apology. The man grunted. "Doesn't look like you belong around here." Isaiah's grip on the book tightened imperceptibly. "It's a public park," he said. The older cop on the left laughed under his breath. Smart mouth. The air seemed thinner now. Families were still nearby. Laughter echoed from the field, but no one looked their way. The officers had picked their moment with precision. Isaiah scanned for Julian without turning his head. The boy was still kicking a ball into the net, oblivious. The leader stepped closer. "You people always got something to say." Isaiah shut his book. "I'm not causing trouble." "Trouble," the man sneered. "You think you're special in that suit?" Isaiah held his ground. "I think I have every right to be here." The third officer cracked his knuckles. "Maybe you need a little attitude adjustment." Isaiah didn't flinch. His hands rested on his knees, breath steady. "I don't want trouble. I'm just here to pick up my brother." "Maybe we ought to see what you're packing," the younger officer suggested. The lead man smirked. "Yeah, let's see what this kid's got." "Don't," Isaiah warned quietly. "Don't," the officer repeated. "Who do you think you're talking to?" Then came the voice, sharp and panicked. "Isaiah." Julian had seen them. He was only 10, small for his age, but his voice carried. His cleats scuffed against the pavement as he ran, his face pale. "Stay there," Isaiah called to him. The 3 officers turned toward the sound. "That your brother?" one said with a grin. "Maybe he needs a little discipline, too." Isaiah stood, smoothly, deliberately. He stepped forward, placing himself between Julian and the officers. "Don't touch him," he said, and the tone in his voice made the air change. The lead officer barked a laugh. "What, you think you're going to stop us?" Isaiah said nothing. He didn't raise his fists. He didn't puff his chest. He simply shifted his weight, subtly setting his stance. A quiet storm brewing behind calm eyes. "You afraid?" Another goaded. Isaiah exhaled slowly. "You don't want to do this." They did not expect the words. They did not expect the stillness. The lead officer moved first, lunging forward to shove Isaiah hard in the shoulder. What happened next was a blur. Isaiah pivoted, guiding the man's wrist down and to the side with a parry he'd practiced thousands of times. The man stumbled, off balance, surprise in his eyes. Isaiah reset instantly. "You were warned," Isaiah said. The second officer swung a clumsy punch, anger clouding his aim. Isaiah ducked and delivered a crisp side kick to the knee. The man dropped with a yelp. The third hesitated just long enough for Isaiah to deliver a spinning back kick that connected with his ribs. The first officer roared and charged. But Isaiah didn't meet force with force. He sidestepped, letting the man's momentum betray him, then struck with a palm to the chest, directly into the solar plexus. The officer crumpled. A shout rose nearby. Somebody called the police. Someone else yelled, "They are the police." Phones came out. A crowd was forming. Isaiah didn't look at them. He remained still, breathing steady, watching as the officers struggled to rise. "Enough," he said. "I don't want to hurt you. Walk away." The leader gasped for breath, glaring but beaten. "Let's go," he barked. They limped to their vehicle. One turned before climbing in. "This ain't over, kid." Isaiah said nothing. The SUV sped off. Then came the applause. A hesitant ripple that grew into a roar. Isaiah blinked. Julian was at his side. "Are you okay?" the boy asked. Isaiah nodded. "Let's get home." They walked in silence for a while, their shoes brushing against the sidewalk. Julian looked up every few steps, awe etched on his face. "How did you do all that?" he asked. Isaiah smiled faintly. "It's not about being big. It's about being ready, knowing when to act. What if they come back?" Isaiah paused. "Then we'll be ready. But remember, what happened today wasn't about fighting. It was about standing up for what matters. Fighting is the last option. Always." Julian nodded. When they reached their house, the porch light was on. Their mother stood in the doorway, arms folded, eyes scanning them. "You're late," she said quietly. Isaiah stepped forward. "Something happened at the park." Julian jumped in. "He didn't start it, Mom. He just stopped it." Their mother stared at them both. Then she descended the steps and pulled them into her arms. "You protected your brother," she whispered. "But don't take chances unless you must." "I won't," Isaiah promised. Later that night, long after the house settled into silence, Isaiah lay awake. The ceiling above him faded in and out with passing headlights. Julian's breathing was slow and peaceful across the room. Isaiah's thoughts lingered on the encounter. Not the blows or the crowd, but the moment before it all began. The quiet choice to rise. He remembered the officer's words, "This ain't over." It didn't scare him, because what mattered wasn't what came next. It was the line he'd drawn. Not a physical one, but one within himself. The line that marked dignity and the courage to defend it. The world could try to erase it with threats or uniforms. But Isaiah had seen the truth. Power didn't lie in force. It lived in resolve. And when that kind of strength speaks calm, silent, immovable, the world listens. He turned, pulled the blanket over his shoulders, and let the peace of conviction carry him into sleep. Tomorrow would come, and he would be ready.